Mark chapter 2. Question 1. Where was considered home for Jesus during his active ministry years? Answer. Capernaum. Question 2. When the people gathered at his home, what did Jesus do? Answer. He preached the word to them. Question 3. How did the paralytic man get to Jesus' home? Answer. He was carried by 4 men. Question 4. What resistance did the 4 carrying the paralytic have in getting their friend to Jesus? Answer. Because of the crowd, they couldn't get him to Jesus. Question 5. How did the 4 get their paralyzed friend to Jesus? Answer. They made a hole in the roof and lowered him down. Question 6. To what did Jesus respond in regard to the paralyzed man let down through a hole in the roof? Answer. Their faith. Question 7. What was the first thing Jesus said to the paralyzed man let down through a hole in the roof? Answer. Your sins are forgiven. Question 8. What did the teachers of the law think when Jesus told the paralytic his sins were forgiven? Answer. Jesus was blaspheming. Question 9. What did the teachers of the law think when Jesus told the paralytic his sins were forgiven? Answer. Who can forgive sins but God alone? Question 10. Who thought Jesus was blaspheming when he told the paralytic his sins were forgiven? Answer. The teachers of the law. Question 11. What did Jesus say to the teachers of the law about what he had said to the paralytic man? Answer. Which is easier to say, your sins are forgiven, or get up and walk? Question 12. Why did Jesus heal the paralytic in front of the teachers of the law? Answer. So they would know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins. Question 13. What did Jesus tell the paralytic to do after talking to the teachers of the law? Answer. Get up, take your mat, and go home. Question 14. What was the people's response when the paralytic got up and walked at Jesus' command? Answer. They were amazed. Question 15. What was the people's response when the paralytic got up and walked at Jesus' command? Answer. They praised God. Question 16. What was the people's response when the paralytic got up and walked at Jesus' command? Answer. We have never seen anything like this. Question 17. Where did Jesus initially see Levi? Answer. At the tax collector's booth. Question 18. Levi was whose son? Answer. Alphaeus. Question 19. Who was eating with Jesus and his disciples at Levi's house? Answer. Tax collectors and sinners. Question 20. Who did the Pharisees ask concerning why Jesus was eating with tax collectors? Answer. The disciples. Question 21. When Jesus was eating with Levi, what did the Pharisees ask his disciples? Answer. Why Jesus ate with tax collectors? Question 22. How did Jesus respond to those asking his disciples why he ate with tax collectors? Answer. It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. Question 23. How did Jesus respond to those asking his disciples why he ate with tax collectors? Answer. He did not come to call the righteous, but sinners. Question 24. Who was fasting that prompted people asking Jesus why his disciples didn't fast? Answer. John's disciples and the Pharisees fasted. Question 25. Who asked Jesus why his disciples didn't fast? Answer. Some people. Question 26. What scenario did Jesus propose in response why his disciples didn't fast? Answer. A bridegroom and his guests. Question 27. When do the guests of the bridegroom not fast? Answer. when he is with them. Question 28. When did Jesus say the wedding guests would fast? Answer. When the bridegroom is taken away from them. Question 29. What did Jesus say one does not put on an old garment? Answer. An unshrunk patch. Question 30. What did Jesus say would result from putting an unshrunk patch on an old garment? Answer. The patch would pull away, making the tear worse. Question 31. Where did Jesus say no one puts new wine? Answer. In old wineskins. Question 32. What would new wine do to an old wineskin? Answer. Burst it. Question 33. What did Jesus' disciples do on the Sabbath? Answer. They picked up some heads of grain. Question 34. Who objected to the disciples picking up grain on the Sabbath? Answer. The Pharisees. Why did the Pharisees object to Jesus' disciples picking grain on the Sabbath? Answer. They considered it unlawful. Question 36. With what Old Testament story did Jesus respond when the Pharisees objected to his disciples picking grain on the Sabbath? Answer. The story of David eating sacred bread. Question 37. Who was the high priest when David entered the house of God and ate the consecrated bread? Answer. Abiathar. Question 38. What did Jesus say David did that was unlawful in defense of his disciples? Answer. He entered the house of God and ate the consecrated bread. Question 39. Why did Jesus say the Sabbath was made? Answer. The Sabbath was made for man. Question 40. Whom did Jesus say was the Lord of the Sabbath? Answer. The Son of Man. Question 41. What did Jesus say the Son of Man was in relation to the Sabbath? The Lord.